Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United have beaten Real Salt Lake 2-1 in their second game on the US tour. If you're watching this live straight after our watch along at 5 AM, well done to you. You deserve a massive pat on the back. If you're watching it having decided to sleep through it and just pick up the match reaction afterwards, well done. You probably were made the right decision. Although I would always watch Manchester United if they're playing, so you know, each their own. But in relation to the game, disappointing is what I would say. However, it is a pre-season game. It means next to nothing. It's more fitness in the legs of the players, and it's all about what happens against West Ham and subsequent games in the Premier League next month that really matters. However, again, there are issues that need to be brought up. There is a bigger picture here, and the reality is we do need to get these signings done sooner rather than later. But the formation is a problem. We played 4-3-3 today, and 4-3-3 it's just not the way for Manchester United to go. It was almost like look, Real Salt Lake are a better team than LA Galaxy, but United in both halves against LA Galaxy were much better than they were tonight. And that's not just about the opposition, because the opposition is obviously a factor, but the way you play and the formation and the way the players move is about the formation and the way the players move. And in that 3-5-2, we looked far more expansive. In this 4-3-3, it was just dull. It was boring. It was exactly like the last few months of last season, where we're looking to grind out results again, where we're not very entertaining, where we're not very inspiring, where the players just look bereft of idea. And that was no more was that evident than in the second half, when you've got Martial. I thought Martial did quite well. He missed a couple of chances, but he was creating them out of nothing. Rashford had nothing, absolutely nothing. I wouldn't even say he had a bad game, because he had nothing. He was getting nothing from the midfield behind him. And again, it comes down to the formation. I thought, let me just stick with the second half at the moment. So the best players I felt in the second half were I thought Mitchell, who came on for injured Mata after a few minutes. He looked very fast, and that's the thing. I don't necessarily think he played well, but he stood out because he was fast, and everyone else was just so slow. And I thought again, Pereira, what is Pereira? One of the best players in La Liga last season for Granada, who got relegated as an attacking midfielder. He's played 3 times under Mourinho, once against Wigan in last season's pre-season, and now twice in this pre-season. And every single time, Mourinho's playing him as a centre defensive midfielder. So in that second half, you've got Pereira as a centre defensive midfielder against a team that's not attacking, and then you've got Herrera, who was very poor. But Fellaini is the more attacking midfielder, who countless times lost the ball, who countless times had the ball in a good position to feed the strikers and was overhitting passes, who countless times good crosses were coming in, mostly from Pereira, who he didn't get on the end of. There was a great cross from Rashford, who he just virtually misses it. So Fellaini was atrocious in that second half. Whatever you think about Fellaini, and he did do okay against LA Galaxy, he was atrocious tonight. But the more important thing is, forget what you think about Fellaini. That's got to come down to the manager. Mourinho was playing Fellaini as the attacking midfielder and Pereira as a centre defensive midfielder. The most obvious thing in the world was to swap them round. And as somebody said on our live comments on the watch along, it's like he doesn't want to play Pereira in his best position, because he knows Pereira would play well, and then there's going to be a big demand that he plays, and he doesn't want to play him. Same with Fosu Mensah. Fosu Mensah played really well in the first half. Him and Lingard were the standout players, but he's playing him as a right back, and I don't see him getting any game time. I think Fosu Mensah's got to go on loan, because he's not going to play him as a centre defensive midfielder. He's playing him as a right back, and we know he's not going to pick him as right back, is he? So for me, that performance doesn't really matter, because it's only the second pre-season game. But what does matter is the way the team's playing, and the formation we played was just dull as dishwater, and it's a problem. And the contrast between the two formations already in those 2 games is worlds apart. And it doesn't matter whether the opposition is Real Salt Lake in the second pre-season game where we're playing for fitness, or it's West Ham when we need the points at the start of August, our first Premier League game at Old Trafford. If we play that same formation again, then we are going to have the same problems, where our striker is starved of opportunities, where our midfield just looks clueless, and we become a very mundane team. Again, there was comments in the watch along, people saying it was like being managed by Van Gaal again, which again echoes to what some of the comments we were getting in March and April. We do need to sign players, but I just think the contrast between the formation we played on Saturday, which was 3-5-2, where there seemed to be loads of players in the final third picking up the ball and creativity, to what we saw today in the 4-3-3, where there may as well be an ocean between Rashford and Fellaini. There's just nothing happening in the final third, and that comes down to the manager. But fitness is important. We have just played 2 games in 2 days. The altitude is obviously different in Utah than it is in LA Galaxy, and a lot of the players looked very tired. But I wouldn't be judging where we're going to finish based on tonight's performance, because it's too early. But what I would be judging is if we're going to play that formation. I think it's fair to predict that if we're going to play that formation and we're going to use people like Fellaini in the midfield, then we are not going to be challenging for the title. I'd put good money on that. We're not going to challenge for the title if he plays that formation and he's going to use people like Fellaini as an attacking midfielder. He needs to play. That was the perfect opportunity in that last half an hour to just swap Fellaini with Pereira, and I guarantee we would have created more. It just defied logic why he did that. Why could he not swap that round? We were not creating anything, and Pereira was, but he was too deep. Swap him with Fellaini, who Mourinho has happily played as a CDM lots of times last season. Back to the first half. Let's bring it back to the first half. So the first half an hour, Real Salt Lake played their first team, and they played us off the park, to be honest. But we managed to keep it to we got back to 1-1. Good finish by Mkhitaryan. Lingard was the standout player for United, I suppose, off both halves. He played really well, moved the ball around, and his fitness levels and touch are obviously ahead of a lot of other players at the moment, because he looked streets ahead of people like Pogba and Mkhitaryan. And we know in reality Pogba and Mkhitaryan are not streets ahead. They're on the other side of the world compared to Lingard's ability. But Lingard did look sharp, and the rest of the players need to get up to that. Lukaku scoring his first goal is a positive. I know it's not officially a Manchester United goal that goes on his record, but it's still Lukaku playing for Manchester United and scoring a goal, and that will do his confidence well. Mkhitaryan took his goal well, but again, much like the second half, people like Pogba, Mkhitaryan, Lukaku, Lindelof, they, much like Herrera, Bailly, and others, they looked off the pace for United tonight. And there could be numerous reasons for that, but Valencia got sent off as well. Valencia sent off. I thought it was maybe it was a red card, but it was a bit unnecessary, to be honest. But you could say the tackle was a bit unnecessary as well. Phil Jones was atrocious in the first half, totally at fault for the Real Salt Lake goal. A defender of any level should not be seeing that striker's run and then being pushed over. It was almost like he became Jesse Lingard for a moment. He's just shoved off the ball. But yeah, there was 2 bad performances tonight, Phil Jones and Fellaini, but that's nothing new. These are players that shouldn't be near the United first team if we want to progress. And at the moment, I think the one thing I would say, because I wouldn't be totally negative about it, because it's only the tour, and we can still sign players, and our fitness levels will improve. What I would say is there's no progress. There's no progress. The formation is the same one we did last year that frustrated everybody, and we've still got the same problems around personnel within the squad that probably shouldn't be here. All we've done is sold Janusaj, who wasn't here last season, and Rooney, who, it's the right decision that he moves on. But we're still in this same position where we've got a hell of a lot of deadwood in our squad. And we need to get some people through the door, and we need to get some people out the door. But in relation to where we are, the first 2 games have really been about fitness. Some positives, but a lot of, not really moving anywhere forward. But on Friday we're playing Manchester City, and on Sunday we're playing Real Madrid, and on next Wednesday we're playing Barcelona. Those 3 games, whether there's a raft of substitutions or not, we'll know a lot of those players that are coming on, and we'll know how to gauge our team against players of, rivals, big rivals. So whether, I'm sure it's not going to be as fast paced as a Premier League game against Man City, but there'll still be an element of rivalry there, and also we will know their players, so we will know if Lingard has a really good game on Friday against the likes of, you know, Silva and people like that, then we know that, you know, maybe he is improving. So I'm looking forward to the game on Friday, but we do need to make some progress, and I think that has to start with the formation. We can't stick with this 4-3-3 formation. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We're not expansive in it. It makes us very defensive, and yeah, teams don't score against us, but we don't create any chances. We didn't create any real chances in that second half against Real Salt Lake, and that was their reserves. So progression is the big thing. You can't be too critical because it's only the second game and it's all about fitness. But regardless of that, you could still pass the ball around better. You could still create chances. It's a game of football at the end of the day, and that formation just stifles us. It's redundant and it needs to be confined to the scrap heap. And whether we move to a 3-5-2 or not, we do need to find a formation that allows us to be more expansive in the final third. And yet again, much like last season, 2 games and hardly any crosses being put into the box. In fact, the only crosses that came in, one from Fosu Mensah to Lukaku in the first half that he nearly got on the end of, and then a few from Lukaku, from Pereira in the second half. But we need to do better. This formation is the problem, and also playing. You know, on a personal note, I think Pereira is good enough to be part of our first team plans, but playing him as a centre defensive midfielder, again, it's just stifling. I suppose it's he's more it's a bit of a symbol for United in general today. Pereira, a very expansive player who looks really hungry for it, being confined to a centre defensive midfield position, and Fellaini being our focal point for creativity. He couldn't pass a parcel. But you know, I'm not gonna get negative or down about it. I think it is what it is. But we need to sort that formation out, and we need to play a little bit more expansive. But City will be a big game. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all tomorrow. There will be no transfer window special. There'll be no transfer special at 7 AM because it's just too close to the video I've done now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it at lunchtime. So I'll go live off my phone at lunchtime at about 12:30. We'll do it then. So I'll see you all at 12:30. Probably be looking very much tired then with the latest transfer news, unless we actually sign somebody. But you know, I won't hold my breath. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone who joined us on the watch along. Thanks everyone who's watching live now. It is still very early. And Richie CR's made a contribution. He says we need to get rid of Phil Jones. Yeah, I'd get rid of Phil Jones and Fellaini based on tonight. I just think there's better players in our youth setup, and they're not going to offer anything. But I'd give Lingard man of the match. By the way, I'd give Lingard man of the match. You've got to be honest. He was the best player. It doesn't really mean anything because the opposition is probably that of a League One team, but he is the one who's furthest ahead at the moment, and we could have done with him in the second half really, because we might have created something. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon, and get some sleep if you can. If not, take a deep breath and let's face the day. See you all soon.